So this is my 800 square foot, 1-bedroom apartment, and it also doubles as my YouTube video studio. And something I recommend to anyone starting a creative business is to start a YouTube channel because of the invaluable marketing potential it provides. So many people can find you and find what you're good at through YouTube. But unfortunately, part of the learning process with YouTube is creating a bunch of terrible looking videos. And I really don't want y'all to be one of those people. So today I'm breaking down how I create my YouTube setup in such a small space, and also giving you some practical tips on how you can start your channel and get the best results possible, even if you're on a budget. So what is good, y'all? I'm very excited about today's video because I think it is going to help a lot of y'all out there. You're going to avoid a lot of the mistakes that I have made over the years in creating my YouTube videos, especially now that I'm back to working in such a small space. You see, when I first started my YouTube channel years and years ago, I was in a 1-bedroom apartment similar to this one. Wasn't as nice. I've kind of come up over the years, very grateful to live in this place now, but the space is pretty much the exact same. And over those years of working, I did have different studios, some bigger, some smaller, and through all those different experiences, 2 major lessons were learned. One, when it comes to YouTube, the most important thing that you can have is a decent looking video. It doesn't have to be overly produced, some crazy professional thing. As long as it looks decent, it's going to stand out amongst probably 75% of the videos of people who just don't care and film their videos in a dark room or with light hitting them from the side, creating all these weird shadows, or like sun hitting their face. People just don't care. So if you care a little bit about the quality of your video, you are going to stand out. And the second thing that I've learned is the audio and the information that you're sharing with people is so much more important than how your video looks. So consider those 2 things as I teach you everything that I do to create my videos, and also at the end of the video, I'm going to give you the biggest tip that I have for making your videos look good, even if you have no budget and just have a simple smartphone to work with. So before we get going today, do me a solid, hit the thumbs up button on today's video. It helps the channel a lot. Something like 55% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel either, so hit the subscribe button. You know you want to. And last but not least, I want to thank the sponsor on today's video, Cuts. We'll talk about them later, but you can go to the link in the description on today's video and get 15% off your first order from Cuts. So let's go through what my setup is right now. Now, first and foremost, one of the biggest drawbacks to working in a small space is that it's not always going to be pretty. You know, when I've had studios in the past, one great thing is you can just leave your YouTube setup built. You can build it once and then just sit down and start recording video right away. Whereas in a 1-bedroom apartment like this, I essentially have to put all my gear up and then unpack it and set it back up. And like right now, my camera is set up on 2 like coffee containers because the tripod doesn't work the right way, because if the camera's back too far, the sink is in the shot. You know, you got to work around, and it's a little bit of a hassle working in a small space like this. So here are the 5 major components that I use when it comes to my YouTube videos. The first is the lighting. Okay, this light right here is an Aperture 120D light. It is hands down the most important thing that I've ever bought for this YouTube channel, but I want to make something clear. I didn't buy this light until I had 100,000 subscribers. I literally didn't even have a microphone when I made my most popular video on this channel. In hindsight, I definitely wish I did, but there's nothing I can do about it. Maybe you'll be smarter than me, but this Aperture 120D light is fantastic because, one, it's an extremely powerful light. So you can get a lot of light on you, your subject, and you can keep your camera at a low ISO to make the footage look as good as possible. But more important than the light itself being the 120D is the Aperture light dome that is attached to it. See, the Aperture light dome is a diffuser, and what a diffuser does is it spreads out the light amongst a larger surface area, creating a softer look. If you've ever been to like a theater or something, you know that a spotlight is very bright. It's flashing directly on something, and without that light dome on this light, the light would be very harsh on me, essentially like a spotlight. But with this diffuser, it spreads the light out amongst this giant circular thing, and it creates a nice softer look on my face. And if you're thinking about investing in something for your YouTube channel, that might be it. I think that's the most highly recommended thing I can give you, especially if your studio is somewhere with no windows. Now, the second thing that I use for this YouTube channel is my Aperture Nova light. Now, a Nova light is not something that you have to get. Definitely don't recommend getting one unless you're more on the video production side of things, maybe taking on clients, because this light is designed really for movies, short films, music videos, and things like that. It has a bunch of different special effects options. but I use it for the colorful lighting feature. And the reason I use it in this 1-bedroom apartment is essentially to create a variety of backdrops without having to do anything. You see, without that light, my backdrop looks the same every single time, and it looks pretty boring. I mean, this is an apartment where I didn't want to put a lot of stuff on the walls because I didn't want to patch it up later, so that light allows me to manipulate the scene and create some ambiance without really doing anything. Today I strategically set it to blue because it would match against my shirt, so I would stand out more amongst this backdrop, and I can change it between videos so each video has a slightly different look, keeping the channel feeling fresh. By no means is this something that I think you need to have for your videos, it's just something that I use and I wanted to go ahead and include it in today's video. Now the camera that I use is actually very simple for my A-roll. A-roll is the talking part of the video, what you're watching right now. I use my Nikon D780 for this, but for the B-roll and the more cinematic stuff in these videos, I use my Leica SL2 and I use S-Log. So I use log footage, which I color grade, and it's much more of a process, and I don't feel like that process is necessary for the talking head stuff, which is why I prefer to use a little bit more of a simple setup. The lens that I like to use with this camera is a low aperture lens. This is another thing that can really boost the production quality on your video in a simple way. I use a 20mm f1.8 lens. I typically set it to like f2, f2.2, maybe f2.8. This allows for me as the subject to be isolated against my backdrop and create kind of that blurry background effect. And in my opinion, this is one of the easiest things you can do to make your video look more professional, but once again, it is not a necessity. You don't have to have this. Your video is going to benefit a lot more from just basically good lighting and good information, and all this stuff is secondary and extra. Now the picture profile I use on this Nikon is a flat picture profile, which allows me to color grade the footage in Premiere Pro, which I'll show you in a minute. But before we continue on with that, I briefly want to thank the sponsor on today's video, Cuts. Now I know right now we're talking about gear and things like that, but Cuts is actually an essential part of this YouTube channel as well, because they're essentially the wardrobe provider for every single video. If you watch this channel a lot, you've seen me wear a variety of different hoodies from Cuts, you've seen me wear a variety of different t-shirts from Cuts. This is a Cuts crew neck right here, and the reason I wore this particular one today is because I knew I wanted something that would stand out against a blue backdrop. You see, the way you look in a video and the way you present yourself is just as important as how the video itself looks, and one mistake I made years and years ago was dressing like an absolute dork and a slob in my YouTube videos. I really regret doing that because I think my videos early on might have done better had I looked more professional, and that is what Cuts does for me. It makes me feel confident and also professional regardless of the situation that I'm in, but I still feel like I'm dressing true to myself. That's one of my favorite things about Cuts. Rather than putting their energy into distracting flashy logos or crazy designs, they focus on quality and the fit of their clothing and creating something that you can wear basically in any situation regardless of what it is. Don't take my word for it, try it out for yourself. You can go to the link in the description on today's video and save 15% on your first order. The product I recommend trying is their elongated t-shirt. It's more of an athletic cut. It is hands down my favorite product, but their hoodies, their crew necks are great, and they also have this new Sherpa jacket that I'm hoping to get one of sometime soon. It looks fantastic, especially as these winter months are getting really cold out here. It literally snowed in Atlanta last week, and I definitely wish I had it. So thank you to Cuts for sponsoring today's video. 15% off in the link in the description down below. But the next thing we got to talk about is audio. What do I use for audio? It is this mic right here. It is a Rode USB mic. I love how easy this microphone is because I can just plug it directly into my MacBook, which is on the floor right now off camera. All I do when I start the video is I clap 3 times, GarageBand records the audio, the camera records the audio, and then I go in and post and I synchronize them together, and now I have a nice clean audio, which for me, ever since I started adding this into my YouTube videos, I think the quality went up a lot and people seem to enjoy my videos more, and I don't get complaints in the comments about echo or things like that, because when you're recording in a space like this, it can be really hard to outfit your kitchen with sound panels or ways to remove echo, and I think that this is a great way to work around that. Now the last key component to making these YouTube videos is my editing software. I use Premiere Pro. I use Premiere Pro to color grade the videos, and like I mentioned earlier, to synchronize the audio. When I import a video into Premiere, I color grade it with a very simple color grade. Essentially all I do is add one of the LUTs that is built into Adobe Premiere. It literally comes with the program. I can't remember the name, you'll see it in the video, but I just apply that and then I work with the settings, the contrast, the highlights, and the shadow, get it to look how how I want, and it's as simple as that. I have a video on this channel where I break down my more complicated color grades, but for the most part, I feel like a very basic one gets the job done when it comes to these talking head style YouTube videos. And that's literally it. It's not a very complicated setup to record in a small apartment like this. It's just something that requires a little bit of trial and error. I think when I first moved into this place, I struggled with figuring out how exactly I wanted to record in here. And once I got it dialed in, it's been just like any other studio. And I don't think the audience or anyone who watches this channel has really cared about the change of backdrop going from like a YouTube studio to just my living room. I really don't think it matters. Now, if you're someone who is watching this video and thinking to yourself, literally all I have is a camera or my iPhone, this is what you can do to get the highest video quality possible for your YouTube channel and set yourself aside from, like I said, probably 75% of the channels out there. You ready for this? It is so simple. And if you have an iPhone, especially one of the new ones, quick note, these things are so good right now at video. I really think you could create an entire YouTube channel using one of these. I don't think that you have to have a fancy camera anymore, but that's besides the point. All you need is a window. Okay, now I mentioned my Aperture 120D and the light dome earlier and how it spreads out light amongst a larger surface area, creating a nice soft look. A window will do this exact same thing if you are recording either on a cloudy day or recording at a time of day where the sun is on the opposite side of the window. So for me, later in the day, the sun comes directly through this window. So I strategically make sure that if I'm gonna record, I record in the morning when the sun is on the opposite side of the building. What this does is it creates a giant panel of diffused light, and all I have to do is set up my camera and sit in front of it, and I get nice soft light on my face. I literally utilized this technique in my last vlog because I didn't feel like setting all this up, and I thought it looked great. And it's actually the same setup I used years and years ago in my first apartment, and it's the same thing that you can do to jumpstart your YouTube channel. Start there if you have no budget. That is how you can start a channel and slowly start building your business, and then eventually up your production quality to something like an Aperture 120D light, maybe a camera with a low aperture lens, or even maybe a Nova or a microphone. Whatever you want to take from today's video, apply it to what you're doing, and I guarantee you're going to get results out there, and you're not going to make the same mistakes that I did, or you're not going to make as many of them, and it's not going to take you as long to learn. So thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.